Antony and Cleopatra. Now the Egyptians called Cleopatra the symbol of love, but the Romans called her just a pushover. So Mark Antony thought he'd find out for himself. So he came to Egypt with an army of 50,000 men. 50,000 men. Just to show that Egyptian queen, whether you're in and out of Rome, you've got to do as the Romans do. 50,000 men. 50,000 men. All hot and bothered, all bothered and hot to meet Cleopatra. Now Mark Antony had on a little pinchback toga that he designed himself, with a zipper top to get in and out of tight places. And he was carrying a satchel full of all sorts of presents for the Queen of Egypt. Inside the satchel was an old jar of Pompeii and massage cream, 2 shiny red depression apples from Sicily, a gift of Mussolini, and 16 rather lewd French postcards of statues that were later going to be destroyed by old man Vesuvius. Come on, men, he shouted. Come on, come on. Left, 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 right, left. 50,000 men. 50,000 men. Marching to Cleopatra. Now Cleopatra had a very different idea of Mark Antony. She thought he'd be a Roman Apollo with slight Greek tendencies, so she was making up madly all day because she had a mouth like a torn pocket, caused by a lot of little things she didn't pretend to remember. And ices and crocus were cupping her with wisteria water and stuffing old mushroom blossoms in her hair. All the while she was sitting in an old golden bowl of sandalwood oil, just in case Mark Antony pulled a quick one. As she sat there, oiled almost beyond recognition, suddenly she heard a fanfare of trumpets. And there was Mark Antony with his 50,000 men. They were all a little bit tired by now. 50,000 men, right at the gates of Cleopatra's palace. Just like Cleopatra to do nothing about it. Keep them waiting and they weaken in the end was her motto. When all Mark Antony wanted to do was sit down and open his satchel and surprise everybody. Finally, after keeping them waiting 9 hours, she got up, oiled almost beyond recognition, and slipping on her little ruby called Tut, she started down the stairs. All her feet were touching the ground, when suddenly she realized she had no present for the distinguished guest. So she snatched up a couple of fig Newtons and stepped out on the loggia, which was draped in black peacocks. Don't ask me why. When Mark Antony thought he saw her, he said, "Hooray, hooray, hooray, Cleopatra!" And the entire army shouted ditto and waved whatever they had at hand. After 2 minutes, Cleopatra waved 2 things back and said thank you. Mark Antony was now within striking distance of the Queen when suddenly he opened his satchel, and everybody said, "Whoopee!" But when Cleopatra saw the present, she became icy. She'd expected much more. Though she made a mental note of the postcard, she loved pictures. Mark Antony saw the terrible change come over her face, and he realized he must do something desperate. So he took out the biggest prize he had, the plans for the fall of Rome. She loved that. So instead of doing something sinister, she beckoned to him. And they left the assembly and barged out on the Nile, where under the moonlight she gave him a great big hibiscus lei. After 4 years of this continued nonsense, she had herself bitten to death because she didn't know what else to do with her ass.